Scandal,
Murder,
lore,
intrigue,
I'm Ravinia,
and I'm Lindsay.
and we're talking about the people and relationships.
They made for some scandalicious headlines across the country.
So come join the class.
We're here to give you the rundown. Hello, we
Hi.
are here with another true crime episode. One is on trial right now. One of this murder couple we have up here at the top. This is Chad Daybell at the top with Lori Vallow. They're both in jail for murder and conspiracy of killing all the people below. So right below Chad is Tammy Daybell, his wife. The kids of Lori are in the middle, Tylee, Ryan, and JJ Vallow. And then on the bottom right is Charles Vallow, the adopted father of JJ, and it's actually JJ's nephew. So we'll go into that, but we're going to talk about all these people, and Lori is in trial right now. So, and I think it's only going to last a couple more weeks, and we'll know if she's found guilty or not. You might have heard of this story from, it was around like 2020, because it takes place like 2018 to 2020, 2021. And these kids were missing. The kids are in the middle, Tylee and JJ, they were missing. And everybody was like, where are the kids? It became national news. And Lori, their mother, was saying, they're fine. They're completely fine. So a lot of people were hoping that they weren't dead like me. They were hoping that they were maybe hidden somewhere because she was like in this religious cult, and just never imagined what actually happened and where they were actually found. But I want to ask Ravinia, what do you know? Like, do you know anything? Do you remember hearing anything, or just from me talking about it?
Yeah, you being the true crime junkie, I get like secondhand like true crime info from you like all the
Yeah,
time.
true.
So I had heard about this, like you said, when the kids were first missing. So this was
Okay.
a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that they made a Netflix documentary. I think it's called The Sins of Our Mother, right?
Yes, Sins of Our Mother on Netflix is really, really good.
And Lori's oldest child, he's like
Mm-hmm.
our age, adult. He
Yes.
came out in it and he was talking, and that broke my heart. I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm. He was just recently on the stand, and there's
Really?
a phone call between them. Sorry, I don't have that. I don't have any clips, or I'm not going to talk about anything with the trial now, but you can go and find the audio on YouTube. You're not able, they don't allow cameras in the courtroom, so there's only
Oh,
drawings, and they're allowing it to be recorded. So East
okay.
Idaho News has like good chunks of literally everyone, family members, detectives, like it is insane. Her sister, the recorded jail phone call with Lori and her sister is just chef's kiss, because she screams at her, and it's like what everyone wants to say to
Mm.
this biatch. So
I'll
yeah,
definitely
so
have to give that a listen just so I can like live vicariously through
yeah, it's a
the
lot though.
sister.
I mean, it's a lot. I have to listen every day because it just keeps going, and it's Monday through
Mm.
Friday, and it's like before you know it, if you've missed a couple days, you're so behind. So hopefully
Oh,
people will be making like highlights of it, because it's so much. And then
they
there's
probably
another
will.
big true crime case going on right now. I'm like, this is like overload for all of us over here,
Yeah.
crazies who love to um
True
watch
crime.
and listen to all of
Yeah.
this. So Lori is 49. As you can see, she's currently in jail with her husband, Chad Daybell. So they are married. She likes to go by Lori Daybell, but we're going to call her Lori Vallow. They're in there for murder and conspiracy of her husband, Charles, his wife, Tammy, and Lori's two children, Tylee and JJ. So let's start with Lori. She has been married 5 times. This is her wedding with Chad in the middle, and then Joseph Ryan, I believe, on the left, and then Charles Vallow on the right. But she'd been married a total of 5 times, including Chad, and she has a son named Colby from marriage, and then her daughter is Tylee from Joseph Ryan's marriage up there in, looks like another wedding in Hawaii. I think she's like she loves Hawaii. So, and yeah, so Tylee is from that marriage. So after she splits with Tylee's dad, she meets a man named Charles Vallow. So they marry in 2006, and they combine their families together. So this picture on the right is him with his sons, Tylee and Lori. And then the little photo that they're holding is JJ, because they ended up adopting him.
Okay.
So we'll go into that. So in 2014, Charles and Lori adopted the grandchild of Charles's sister. So this is Kay Woodcock.
Hmm.
She's the grandmother of JJ. He was autistic and born to parents that couldn't take care of him due to drugs and poverty. So JJ originally lived with his grandmother and grandpa, Larry and Kay Woodcock. And then they, realize they're getting older in age. They already were up in age to have a young son. And because he is special needs, they knew they couldn't, keep up with him. And Lori and Charles had already had a blended family, and they were a great family. Like, she was a great person back then. And so Charles and Lori adopted him, and they knew they could give him a better home, and he would have siblings and everything. And then, he would often, FaceTime Larry and Kay, see them often, because Kay Woodcock is Charles' sister. So they're
Right.
all in the family, and they thought, this will be better. So everything was great. In 2016, they moved to Arizona with everyone, and Lori and Charles, they went to church. They were in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So LDS for short, we're going to call it. They were normal churchgoers. Like, nothing crazy. They lived a normal, like, American life in Arizona with their family. So in 2018, all of that started to change. Lori and her niece Melanie, who you can see here with her husband Brandon up at the top left, her and Lori started getting more involved in their religion and started attending these fireside talks without their husbands. And they made it clear to their husbands. They were like, "You're not invited. Like, this is just our thing." Melanie's husband Brandon asked, "Do you want me to join you?" Like, we go to church. Melanie and Brandon have 5 children. They go to church with them. But Lori and Melanie were kind of secretive with it, and they didn't want their husbands involved. So they would attend these fireside chats.
And there were
And
religious fireside chats?
yes,
Okay.
so it's kind of like, so LDS churches, it's like a sect of Mormonism, I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure. And so, but these fireside chats were really focused on, like, the end of times, like the world ending, the world's going to end soon, Jesus Christ is going to come, all heads will bow, all knees will bend, blah blah blah. That's what they were focusing on. So let's kind of talk about that, like the end of times in religious circles.
Mm,
I think just about like every sect of Christianity has its theories about the end of days. I was raised Catholic, like they have their theories too, but their theory is according to the Bible, King James Bible, that no one's going to know. It says in there, like, no one will know when Jesus Christ is coming. No one will know when the world is going to end. But we've had over so many years all these different little groups who are like convinced, they're like, this is the day. And some of them go as far as committing suicide or killing other people, or I'll say unaliving other
right.
people. We're saying that, just we'll probably keep that part in so we don't
Yeah.
get in trouble by the
Yeah,
social media,
we'll
by
be
the internet.
using the term unalive, which will
Yeah,
mean they're no longer alive.
which will mean, yeah, there's been groups that have done that, that have, yeah, they've like poisoned themselves, they've done all that stuff because they're just convinced. But I think it's just so funny because I'm like, all these religions stem from like the King James Bible, which is a Bible that has been written and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten,
Right.
but that's the most popular one now. And it's like they all like kind of stem from that. And then
Mhm.
it says in there so clearly, like, no one's gonna know when the world's gonna end. So
Right.
that's what these talks were, it was kind of starting to consume them. They were, and normal like Mormonism and people in LDS churches, like they don't focus on that 100%. And Lori
Right.
and her niece were starting to focus on that. So as Lori gets more involved in reading about the end of days, she starts to read these books by a man named Chad Daybell,
Okay.
who will become her future husband. So, and the books are about the end of times and how to prepare for them, specifically like LDS members, how to prepare for the end of times. And some are fictional as well.
Okay.
So let's talk about Chad Daybell. This is Chad with his wife, Tammy. He's from the Utah area. Him and Tammy got married in 1990. They have 5 children together, and they
Wow.
started a book company together, and they used that so Chad could publish his own books.
Yeah,
Um,
because like who the hell else? What other publishing company would?
I know. So Chad has claimed to have 2 near-death experiences in which the veil between heaven and earth has lifted for him. I
Mm.
always think about like in Harry Potter, wherever where Sirius Black dies and
Goes
he
into the
goes,
art.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like an arc with just like, it's
the
like this
veil.
wispy like smoke, and it's like a veil. And that's how since I'm such a visual person, I always imagine this, like there's a veil between us. And he says that like because of his near-death experiences, the veil was lifted and he was able to see into the future. So he wrote a
Wow.
book about this. I think it's the one, Living on the Edge of Heaven. And then he started publishing like a bunch of futuristic novels about like the church members and preparing for the end of times.
Mm.
So Lori had started reading these books and she went to this event called Preparing a People, and Chad was one of the speakers there. So this is October 2018. So she meets Chad for the first time and they talk. She's flirting it up. She's with her friend, says, you know, they were flirting. Lori is giggling. She's so happy. And Chad tells her that they've been married in a past life. And she's just like, oh my God, really? She just
What
like
a
falls
pickup
for it.
line. Could you imagine? Hey girl, I think we were married in a past life.
Exactly. And she just fell for it. So
Like a
a,
clown.
a month later, like one freaking month later, she's ready to throw everything away with her like family and children. One
Over
month
this
later,
man.
yeah, this is your man. Look at the screen.
Look at the
This is
screen.
your man.
This is your
Look, Lori, look at the fucking screen.
Look at the screen.
That's mine.
And,
I'm gonna stick beside him.
that's what you're going to settle for.
I'm gonna stick beside him.
You're gonna
I'm
give
so
up
sorry to laugh.
everything for that disgusting
I'm
little
so sorry
man.
to laugh, but if you're not like, please just look up what Chad Daybell looks like. He is not a catch at all. Like, are
Mm-mm.
you serious? Like, girlfriend, like Charles, her husband, is attractive, works out, like,
Right.
oh my God, and loved her and was so nice to her. And like,
Right. And we're not laughing about like what happened. We're laughing about Lori being a clown.
being a dumbass. So a month later, Charles comes to Arizona where Lori lives.
Mm-hmm.
And she lives there with Charles for another conference. So
Mm-hmm.
Charles happens to be out of town that weekend. So Chad stays at Lori's house. And Lori tells her friend Mel that she and Chad were sealed together by the angel Moroni from the Book
Oh.
of Mormon and Jesus Christ in the LDS temple, and that the relationship of multiple lives was reunited.
That's so weird because isn't it not within the Christian belief that you have multiple lives? I feel like
Yeah, I
that's
mean, I
more
can't
of
speak
a
for
Eastern,
Mormonism.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't speak for Mormonism because Mormonism, oh my God, I'm going to do my best to talk about the foundations of it, but it's like Joseph Smith is like the
Right.
creator of Mormonism. And he was like, said that he was presented these like golden leaflets or something. And like, so I feel like he went like way out of left field with a
Mm-hmm.
different sect of Christianity. Cause you got like Catholic, Baptist, Presbyterian, they're all kind of in the same bowl together.
Right.
Mormonism is like, and then Jehovah's Witness too is like, they just like go off.
Went off the rails.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't know. They probably maybe they don't believe in I
Past
don't know.
lives.
I can't say for sure if they do, but they they didn't even like go because you do if you do get married in a Mormon church, you can't even go in unless you're Mormon. And you like I remember this from one of those MTV shows about like young marriages or something, and like
Mm-hmm.
the family of the groom could not even go in because they weren't Mormon at all, and so they couldn't attend the wedding. But you do it in like there's like a sealing room, and so they said like, oh, we were sealed together, but apparently they were just like in some side room, and they just like did this like ritual or whatever. I don't even know. So in
Ugh.
December, Lori told her friend Mel that her husband Charles was going to die in a car accident. She said, I see that he's going to die in a car accident and he's not going to make it home by the new year. So that didn't come to fruition. That didn't happen. And Lori said, oh, it's because Satan
Wishful
interfered.
thinking.
Yeah, literally. And she's like, oh, Satan interfered. So he didn't die. So January rolls around and Lori starts accusing Charles of cheating on her, accusing him like of what she's doing to him. He's not cheating at all. He thinks that they're happily married. He thinks she's normal. And she's like, you're cheating on me when she's the one doing it. So this is her friend Mel. Her name's Melanie, but I didn't want to get it confused with Melanie Bordeaux, her cousin. This is
Uh,
Melanie Gibb. So we're just going to say Mel.
okay.
So this is her friend Melanie Gibb, and she has taken a stand against Lori. Like she's given an interview. You can watch an interview with her. She plays a big part in this. Like she has come out and told us a lot of information, a lot of crazy stuff. So she tells her friend Mel that Charles's body has been taken over by an evil spirit. And the evil spirits had names, like first and last names. Like there were real people who have died who they decided like, oh, this person's evil and they're inhabiting your body. So his name was Nick Snyder. Like she was like, you have been inhabited by the evil spirit of Nick Snyder. And then there was another one named Hiplos.
Oh God.
Just so
Here we
it's
go.
like, was this all worth it? You threw away your life for this craziness. Like It's just insane. So in order to get these spirits out, they had to do castings, kind of like a prayer circle. She would refer to the inhabited like people by evil spirits as zombies. She would say, like, they've turned into a zombie. It kind of progressed. I think in the beginning, Chad's telling her, like, we'll talk about the light and dark scale that he has like labeled people. And then he's like, oh, if you're dark, then you're inhabited or whatever. But then it kind of progresses to like zombies. And I think that's what leads to like the killing of these people, because they're like, oh, they're zombies. There's nothing we can do. We just need to like kill their body. Like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So by the end of January, Charles calls the police on Lori because she took the keys to his truck and locked him out of the house. So while talking to the police, he tells them that Lori like believes she's a god, she's preparing for the second coming of Christ, that, she's so powerful that she can have him killed, like all this stuff. So then and you can find these videos online, it's like a long body cam footage. And so then she was interviewed by the police, and she is like completely normal. This is online as well. She's completely normal. They were like, she's sound of mind. She's like laughing. She's like, oh yeah, like it's fine. Just acting like I'm acting like right now, like just such a good actress. So the next month after this, he files for divorce. So the court documents state the following: Lori Vallow has recently become infatuated at times, obsessive about near-death experiences and spiritual visions. Lori has told Charles that she is sealed, eternally married to the ancient book of Mormon prophet Moroni, and that she has lived numerous lives on numerous planets prior to this current life. Lori also believes that she was married to James the Just in a past life, and also lived as Mary French in the 1800s. She's getting all this from Chad Daybell. He's telling her this, and she's just like swooning. She was natural grandmother of Joseph Smith Jr., who's like the founder of Mormonism. She also informed Charles that she is a translated being who cannot taste death, sent by God to lead the 144,000 into the millennium. Lori believes that she is receiving spiritual revelations and visions to help her gather and prepare those chosen to live in the New Jerusalem after the Great War, as prophesied in the book of Revelations. On January 29th, 2019, during a phone conversation with the parties and after their physical separation, Lori informed Charles that she was a god assigned to carry out the work of 144,000 at Christ's second coming in July 2020. And I always thought about this because they were in jail by COVID. And I'm like, I wonder if they thought that COVID was some sort of like sign from Christ. They were like, oh my God, it's happening. And it's like, no.
Times.
She said if Charles got in her way, that in way of her mission, that she would murder him. The next day, Charles was on a business trip to Houston. And during another phone conversation, she kept referring to Charles as Nick Schneider instead of Charles. She's like, you're not Charles, you're Nick. Charles asked who Nick Schneider was. And Lori told him that Nick was Charles's real name because Nick had killed Charles and taken his identity. Lori proceeded to warn Charles that she would kill him upon his return home, and had an angel there to help her dispose of the body. We'll come to who that angel person is. She also mentioned that she could not trust Charles. She would not only kill him, but she would destroy him financially. So since that conversation, Lori's communications with Charles have been rare and intermittent. For whatever reason, Charles stops the proceedings. He stops the divorce after all of this. He put this, I read that straight from the divorce proceedings. So for whatever reason, he stops the divorce and says that he wants to work on the marriage. I think she must have like convinced him or something. Like, seriously, like, poor guy.
I think he was just looking out for the children, because I think, weren't they not biologically his?
Yeah, no, neither of them were his children, but he was, blood related to JJ.
Yeah, I think he just was worried that he would lose access to the kids.
Probably, yeah, with all the stuff that she was spewing.
Yeah.
So then Lori disappears for 58 days. And up until the trial, we didn't know where she was. She was in Hawaii, but she didn't contact Charles. She didn't reach out to JJ. Nothing.
And where were the kids? Did she take the kids?
No. They were with other relatives, and so Charles took JJ and moved to Texas with him to be closer to JJ's grandmother and his sister Kay. So at this time, because Lori has disappeared, Charles makes the decision, because he's visiting his sister Kay. He's like, I'm gonna move my $1 million life insurance policy to Kay and remove Lori from it. So he never told Lori, but like, he moves it over. So during all of this, Chad is still married. You're gonna cry. This is the part that I've been this is the part that I've been waiting to tell you, because I know you're gonna crack up. So during this time, Chad is still married to his wife Tammy, but him and Lori are communicating daily. They have multiple phones. Chad's living in Idaho with his kids and Tammy, and he starts making some Google searches. One Google search is June 26th star sign. That's Lori's birthday. And then the other one he says are Cancer and Leo compatible. You think you are like a prophet and you see these lives and you're gonna like go to astrology and be like, are Cancer and Leo compatible?
Oh my God. Astrologycafe.com. I need to know.
I'm doing her birth chart when I'm planning on like murdering her children, you know.
Ew,
Oh my God.
he's
Like
so disgusting.
he is.
Wait, so Lori was a Leo or what was it?
Lori is the Cancer
Oh,
and Chad is the Leo. So that's where he's getting his like
oh.
confidence from that he shouldn't have.
Wait, are they compatible?
I don't know. I'm sure in
I
some
guess.
ways. But like I don't know.
Toxically compatible, yeah.
So Chad and Lori both are making searches for a malachite ring. So this is the wedding ring that she ends up having when they get married. So the stone symbolizes fertility, death, afterlife, and resurrection. The ancient Egyptians called it a god stone, and it was used as an amulet that can avoid the threat of death or protect the wearer from negative entities. So they like definitely looked it up. So they're getting into crystals, they're getting into
I was gonna
astrology.
say, I feel like they're just contradicting themselves. Like so much of what they're looking into is like such new age stuff. Like you said, crystals and zodiacs, and wouldn't surprise me if they did tarot cards. I'm like, that's all new
Exactly.
age stuff. That's not Christian.
They're just like going with whatever, like they
Suits
just like,
them.
yeah, exactly.
Stupid.
So Lori returns to Charles and JJ after 58 days. She was in Hawaii. Who knows what the heck she said to them? Who knows why Charles accepted her back, but he did. So they moved back to Arizona. Chad introduces the light and dark scale to Lori. So this is an example of the light and dark scale. This was found in their emails. This is what he typed to her. So some people were dark souls and some people were light. There were different levels to being light or being dark. You see like if it says like 4.2 L, that's light. And then I guess the ones that don't have L next to them are dark. So he said that JJ was a 4.2 light. I don't know if it goes out of 5 or 10. I don't know. So Chad says he was able to determine who was light and who was dark. So he labeled all of his family members light, all of them, while labeling after time, he labeled Charles, Tylee, and JJ dark. He just like at first he was like, oh, they're light. But then he'd be like, oh, I had another vision. And now I see that they've been, an evil spirit has attached to them and they're dark now. So by July, Charles had discovered the affair that Lori and Chad were having.
Right.
So Charles found Chad's wife, Tammy's information. He found her work email and he threatened Lori. He was like, I'm going to contact her. Like, if you don't tell her yourself, like, I'm going to tell her. And actually, I was listening to the trial from a couple days ago and we found out that Charles' email was blocked on Tammy's work email. So Chad must have gone in there and like blocked the email prematurely so that she wouldn't, because it says she never opened the email and she had never responded. And we all wondered like, so she had no idea that they were having an affair when she could have if she saw the email. So on July 10th, Lori's brother named Alex Cox. So on the left, this is Alex Cox, and it's Lori's brother. So he spent the night at Lori's in anticipation of Charles coming over the next morning. So they were fighting, and so Charles was about to come pick up JJ for school. So Chad told Alex that he was the designated like protector of Lori. So he was there to protect her and he had a gun and everything. So the next morning, Charles arrives at the home to take JJ to school. And then an argument ensues and Alex shoots Charles twice in the chest and he calls police. He says it's self-defense. The operator tells him to perform CPR and he's like, yeah, sure. Like that's how he's talking. And you can tell he's not really doing it. So this is the night.
Angel. Her angel of death.
Okay, yeah. So I think the angel of death is Alex Cox. So this is him calling 911 after Charles has died. So Lori ends up taking, the story was from Lori and Alex that Lori went to take JJ to school because they were arguing and she left and then came back to him dead.
I'm in police in an ambulance.
What's the emergency there?
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
There's like absolutely no urgency
Okay.
in his, no
I know.
urgency in his tone or
He's
voice.
just like, hey, what's
Nothing.
up? How you guys doing?
It's
Yeah.
like,
The medic's
okay.
on the phone.
Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
How long ago did this happen?
A couple of minutes.
What is the emergency?
I shot my brother-in-law.
Okay, what part of his body is injured?
In the chest.
I'm sorry, where?
In the chest.
Okay, is he awake and responsive or unconscious?
Unconscious.
Okay, is he breathing?
I can't tell.
Okay, are you willing to go over to him and check?
Sure.
Okay, do you just let me know if you see his chest going up and down? How old is he?
It's not moving. He's 60.
Okay, and are you wanting to start CPR?
No, I don't know how to do that.
I can walk you through it.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is you're going to put one hand in the center of his chest.
Yeah.
The other hand's going to go right on top of it.
Okay.
You're going to interlock your fingers, keeping your arms straight, and you're going to press down hard and fast into his chest. You're going to go 2 inches down and fairly quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Making sure his chest goes up between each compression. Where's the gun now?
It's in the other room.
Do you think he's actually doing it?
No. There in the EMS said that there was no evidence. There was hardly enough blood for how he said that he was shot. They're
Uh-huh.
pretty sure that he shot him again when he was already laying on the ground.
Oh.
And there was no indication that anybody had performed CPR.
God.
So
Do you remember? You used to like The Office, right?
yeah, I love The Office.
Okay. There's that one episode where they're learning CPR, and then they're like, you have to sing to
Staying Alive.
Staying Alive. So like that keeps you on tempo to
Yes.
what. But then Michael gets confused and he sings another song. He's like, First I was afraid, I was petrified. And they're like, no, it's not that song.
Yeah. So yeah, no, he didn't do it. And what we know now is that he did it on purpose.
That was
The goal was to kill Charles.
craziest like 911 phone call I ever heard. Not because it was like, oh my God, like all the craziness. It was because he just didn't even care. He was like, so yeah, what are you up to? He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just killed my brother-in-law.
You wait, there's gonna be more crazy shit.
Oh,
So
God.
this is our interview with Lori. So she was interviewed by the police when she arrived back home from taking JJ to school. She's
Is
smiling.
that Lori in the blue?
It's Tylee, so we'll watch the video. But
she's in the red.
Yeah, Tylee is there too. And the weird thing is that, they interviewed Tylee, and you can find this interview online. And she says she like sticks with the story that,
The
Charles
uncle.
came at
Yeah.
Alex with a bat, and Alex grabbed his gun, and like Tylee had come out with the bat originally, and Charles was like, take that from, I'm going to take that from you. Like, but we don't know, because all the people, it's like all the bad people stayed alive, and then this is a child.
Yeah, and she's just gonna do what her mom says.
Yeah. So also after all of this happened that evening, Lori threw a pool party at the house that Charles just died at.
We're celebrating, honey.
Yeah.
Does your husband live here or no?
No, this is Houston.
Gotcha.
We just moved in here.
Gotcha. How long have you guys lived here?
I'm sorry?
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know us.
Gotcha.
Like, hi neighbor, sorry.
Are you working at all?
No.
Okay. And you're still about 5'6", 120?
The officer then gets some personal information from Tylee.
Blonde, too. You guys, I'm going to list you as a blonde young lady here. And then blue eyes?
Yeah.
You have very blue eyes. That's not under debate.
The officer finally goes to debrief detectives that have just arrived on.
So yeah, that was the reaction from her, that everybody was like, what the heck? Because she's like, yeah, the neighbors don't know us, and like giggling. It doesn't matter, like, even if you hated him, like, wouldn't you be in shock? But no, she's extremely happy that he's gone.
So she didn't have a job? That's what she said.
No, yeah, she was using like, because Tylee Ryan's father has also died, but his was like rolled a heart attack, but Tylee got like Social Security from him or something. So she was like using that money and like child support money and stuff like that. So Lori still thought after this, Charles is killed. So she calls to receive the $1 million life insurance, and she's informed that it was it was put to Kay. So she's like pissed. She figured out it was transferred to Kay, and she was like, and then people think that this might be one of the reasons that made her start to not despise JJ, but want to harm, like do something to JJ because it would hurt Kay. Because Kay's JJ's biological grandmother.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm gonna take it out on her, I guess.
Well, so, and what she started to do was like didn't let JJ talk to her anymore. So by August, JJ's communication with his grandparents, Kay and Larry, was becoming more and more infrequent. Lori moved herself along with Tylee and JJ and her brother Alex to Rexburg, Idaho. So this is where Chad lives. Or Salem, Idaho, technically. But so they moved to Chad, basically. And
where were they living before again?
Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she said that she had moved out into that house where Chad died. Or not Chad, I'm sorry, what's his name?
Charles.
Charles. God, all their names sound so similar. This is like the other the Murdaugh case all over again. I just feel bad for those kids because it seems like they were getting picked up and moved constantly.
So many places. JJ has had different families.
Like are they going to school? Like, is she making sure? Like, when they go to Idaho here, I'm like, does she enroll them in the new school out there? Like,
well, she started to, but they don't last in Idaho too long. So this is August, and the kids disappear by September. So,
did they go to school in Idaho at all? Do you know?
I think because it was August, she had like maybe enrolled them. So Tylee had graduated high school. I think she got her GED. So she like went online for school. And so Lori told everybody, oh, she's going to BYU. So, you know, she was in supposed to go to college, and then JJ was in school. So, so they all moved to Rexburg, Idaho, and Kay Woodcock has no idea. She has no idea that they've taken JJ there. And she's trying to call them, texting them, phone calls. Like, she can't get a hold of Lori, and she has no idea that they're in Rexburg. So her niece, Melanie, who we talked about before, she then divorces her husband, Brandon, and moves to Rexburg. So she's become part of this, you know, cult as well. She's believing everything about Chad and all that. And she accuses Brandon of being a homosexual. And she's like, that's why I'm divorcing you. He's like, what? Like, I'm not even cheating on you. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Homosexual.
You're a DL homosexual.
I knew you were going to say that. I thought about it when I wrote it. So in September, Chad goes with his wife, Tammy, here to increase her life insurance policy to the maximum amount. So he's like, it's really just about like money, all of this. So then rolling around at September 8th, Tylee, JJ, Lori, and Alex visit Yellowstone National Park. So this is where a lot of people, me included, thought that the kids were, because the kids had disappeared, and this was one of the last places they were seen. This definitely was the last place that Tylee was seen. So like the FBI told everybody who was at Yellowstone National Park that day to like go through their camera rolls to see if there was pictures. And I had learned that like apparently there's a spot in Yellowstone where like it's not controlled by any state or even the federal government. So people were thinking like, oh my God, what if their bodies are there and then it's technically not, like they can't even get in trouble or something. We were just, you know, all the conspiracy theories were like, you know, is that where I don't know. And like no one was prepared for everything that has come out so far. So
I wonder if that piece of land was, because I know the Native Americans, they've been given like pieces of land and it's not considered technically like, right?
Maybe it
like
is
US land. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It might be that.
Yeah. So yeah, this was the last time Tylee was seen alive. And then this was the last day that she purchased anything from her bank account. So sometime during the month, Alex Cox, the brother, he and his girlfriend Zulema, they visited Lori, and they never saw Tylee. And so Zulema was like, "Oh, where's Tylee?" Like her having no idea. And Lori,
can I just say, Zulema is a Hispanic name. It's like, I know it has a Z, but it's like pronounced Su.
Zulema. Okay.
Yeah.
Zulema.
So I'm like hearing Zulema, and I'm like, no.
Zulema. Yeah, that's literally what like everybody says, all white people. Yeah. And so Zulema asks Lori, she's like, "Where's Tylee?" And Lori tells her she had to be freed. And Zulema is like, "What do you mean by that?" And Lori lifted her hand to Sulema's face and said, "Don't ask."
Ew.
She was like, okay, you know, she's never going to expect that the girl is gone. So the day after Tylee was last seen, Alex Cox the brother, so Tylee's uncle, his phone pinged in Chad Daybell's backyard. So this is Chad Daybell's backyard. So the day after Tylee disappears, Alex is in Chad's backyard. And Chad texted his wife on that same day and told her that he shot a raccoon. He was like, hey, I saw a raccoon on the fence. I shot it. I buried it in the pet cemetery. And then he said he started like burning. He also burned limb debris by the fire pit. So if you don't know, that this is where the children were found, in the fire pit in the pet cemetery. So the brother's in the yard that day, and Chad is burning something and he shot something. So it's believed that he, in order to like cover his tracks, that there was a fire going and there was like shots ringing out. You know, he's texting his wife Tammy just to like preemptively be like, oh yeah, that's what I did. You know, in case anybody asks, that's what I was doing. I wasn't burying children. I was, you know, burying a raccoon.
Yeah.
So at the end of September, Lori invited her friend Mel and her boyfriend. They stayed for the weekend and they recorded a podcast. So you can listen to the podcast episode too.
And this is when the kids are already unalived at this point.
So Tylee has not been seen. JJ is still around. And so she tells her friend Mel that Tylee was at BYU, Idaho. And so Mel asks like where all her stuff was. Like absolutely all of her stuff was gone.
And this
Lori
is on
said,
the podcast?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I
this
don't
is
know.
just when she's visiting.
Sorry,
No,
sorry.
this is just when she's visiting. So the podcast is about their
Sorry.
religion and the end of times and Mormonism and stuff like that. So the records show that like Tylee was never ever enrolled at BYU. She never even applied, nothing. So we knew that that was a lie, and that, you know, just means that she probably was deceased at this time. So during this weekend, Chad and Lori are all over each other. They're holding hands in public, the whole 9 yards. Chad is still very much married to his wife, Tammy. But he tells Mel, the friend, he says, Tammy's a good wife, but her time is coming soon. So the friend Mel witnessed them cheating. You know, she witnessed all this. A lot of people think that she's not all the way innocent. They don't think Sulema is all the way innocent as well. But, you know, they're not charged with anything, and they have given the public and the FBI like a lot of information and everything. So, but he's like, you know, Tammy's a very good wife, but her time's coming soon. I've seen into the future and she's going to die before I turn 50. And Mel's like, okay, I don't, you know, she probably, who knows if she believed him, you know. I think they're very embarrassed that they've believed a lot of this. This is sweet little JJ. So Lori tells her friend Mel that Chad has learned that JJ is a dark spirit. Does this look like a dark spirit to you, bitch? No, you're a dark spirit. So, and he's saying things like, I love Satan, like at a freaking movie, and climbing on top of the kitchen cabinets. And he pulled a picture down of Christ and said, and then she said, you know, I'm going to give him back to Kay Woodcock, like Charles's sister, you know, we're not. And
I wish she had done that.
I know. And that's what she told everybody she did. And she could have. And no. So, and Mel and her boyfriend were like, there's no evidence that he climbed on the counters. The picture of Jesus Christ was not taken down. Like they were like, we looked around, like there wasn't any evidence. So on that same night that they were there, they were all there recording that podcast, September 22nd, Alex Cox takes JJ to his apartment for a few hours. They just were like, oh, he's acting up. Like Alex is going to take him to his apartment. So Mel witnesses Alex bring JJ back home and carry him upstairs. And he's wearing these red pajamas, and he appeared to be like asleep on Alex's shoulder. And this was the last time anyone saw JJ. So a lot of people believe that he was deceased when we saw him, because he's found in these red pajamas. And so when they saw him sleeping, that maybe he wasn't sleeping. So 7 days later, Lori searches the internet for how to get the back seat of my Jeep Wrangler out of my Jeep Wrangler. So Tylee had drove a Jeep Wrangler, a red Jeep Wrangler, and that used to belong to Charles. So Lori is seen with Chad at this storage unit in Idaho, and she's seen putting the spare tire and the back seat of the car into a storage unit. So I'll play this video, because at first people didn't know who was in it. Like they knew that Lori owned the storage unit, but they weren't sure like who was in the video. And this one, like Chad like taps her on the butt. So it's like both children are gone. He's still like cheating. He's still cheating because her husband and her children are gone. And they're just like being flirty, like, oh, I'm going to slap you on the butt while we remove the backseat of this car to go murder Melanie's husband. So this is the video.
And we are getting a closer look at surveillance footage from Self Storage Plus in Rexburg. This is the facility where Lori Vallow went on October 1st to rent a storage unit. And inside she placed some very personal belongings, such as children's bikes, scooters, also some photo albums and blankets with pictures of her children, JJ and Tylee. Lori and sometimes 2 men visited the facility 9 times in October and 1 time in November. The big question is, what happened on October 2nd? We know that Lori rented the unit by herself the day before on the 1st, but on October 2nd, she came in her blue Nissan Rogue with a man we originally thought was Alex Cox, her brother. But a closer look of enhanced high-quality video shows it likely was not Alex. In fact, it appears to be Chad Daybell, based on the way he walks, looks, and comparing his mannerisms to other video we have of him. Let me walk you through this. The blue Rogue.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. So you know what's so crazy? I'm connected to this story. No, not really.
Oh,
There's this somebody I'm like Instagram friends with my business and stuff. Their wedding photographer is one of my friends, and so we watch each other's stories, talk back and forth. So when I was talking about this years ago, she was like, so they lived there. They lived in the apartment, in the townhome across from Lori and Chad's. I'm like, you were like in your living room when they're freaking murdering the children right down the hall from you.
Could you imagine the people who were like just next door, like the door right next to them?
I know. Like, yeah. It's like, yeah, it's
I would
insane.
just never feel comfortable ever again.
I know. So, okay.
Who's
So the
this
next
woman?
day, this is Melanie. This is
Her
Melanie, her
niece.
niece, and this is her husband Brandon.
Because there's 2 Mels, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's why I
that's
said
the
Mel.
one she accused of being homosexual.
Yes,
He looks so different from that wedding photo. Like that doesn't even look like him.
I think they were married for like 10 years or something. So her husband Brandon, like she recently divorced. She was claiming he was homosexual. Was shot at by a man in a red Jeep Wrangler with the back tire taken off because he remembered as he was he drove like a Tesla. I guess they had money. Drove a Tesla and he's like driving home and he just saw the Jeep and he thought, oh, I just noticed it because the back tire was off. And I don't normally see Wranglers with the back tire off. It's like a staple of Wranglers, like the back tire. So as he's like pulling into his driveway, somebody shoots. He sees somebody shoot out of the back. So they remove the back seat. So Alex, and it was pretty sure it's Alex, sat in the back.
Classic drive-by.
Shoots at Brandon and misses him by inches and hits like the top door, shatters the window, and then the car. Like I don't think the Jeep sped off, but Brandon said he sped off. He just kept driving and called the cops.
So this guy lived to tell the tale.
Yes, and so it was like, and when he got up on the stand weeks ago, he's just crying because it's like, imagine being in his position, seeing everything that's happened. He knew that his children were next. His children could have died. If this had gone further, they were going to kill him and then they were probably going to get rid of the children.
Yeah. I think that's what these people wanted. They just wanted it all to be like childless, responsible-less, and like responsible-less without responsibility. And just like all be together and do whatever the hell they want.
Exactly. And use the money from life insurance policies, everything.
Yeah, let's just kill and get that money. I'm like, you're psycho.
Yeah. So Tammy, Chad's wife, she's still alive. He has these visions that she's gonna die. He's like, oh,
this
I had a
poor
vision
woman.
of her.
Do you think like well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm assuming she's dead. I'm not sure. But I'm like, do you think she knew anything or was she just like oblivious?
She didn't. And honestly, I'm happy that she didn't. Like she could have known if if Charles's email wasn't blocked on her computer. She could have known. And she didn't, but I'm kind of glad if she had well, let's talk about
I was gonna say, at this point, I don't even know if she's alive or dead. So we'll see.
Okay. October 9th, Tammy, Chad's wife, she's unloading groceries, and this is their house. This is the only picture I could find of the front of their house. I think this just shows Chad's office inside, but she's in her driveway, she's unloading groceries, and a man comes up with what she thinks is a paintball gun. So it's Alex Cox, and he's masked, and I think his gun.
Fucker Alex is just killing everyone. What the hell?
He's the angel of death. I think his gun got like messed up. Like he couldn't shoot it. She said that he kept like going like this. And she said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then she like, so Chad is home and she yells for him and she runs in the house. And they call 911 and, you know, the 911 calls are out there and everything. And like, they're just like, oh, and she's like, you know, this man, she even wrote on Facebook, she's like, neighbors, like, be careful. Like there was this guy with this paintball gun. Like, I don't know what's happening. And so then a couple days later, Lori is overheard on the phone talking to someone. And she said, Alex can't do anything right. So we know now that it was him who shot at Brandon and Tammy, and he missed both times.
Oh,
So October 19th, Tammy does die. I'm sorry. October 19th, only 10 days after Tammy was shot at, Chad Daybell calls 911 and says his wife has passed away in her sleep. Investigators ruled her death as natural causes, and Chad goes around telling everybody, you know, oh, she had a cough before she went to bed, and she just, I woke up and she was gone. So Mel asked Lori about Tammy, and she said, you know, did you hear about Tammy? I saw she died. And Lori said, yeah, Chad said she had a dark entity in her, and we did what we had to do to get the spirit out of her. You would think that Mel would have been like, did you kill her? What do you mean? So it's like, that's when people think that all the friends in this, it's like, well, you were kind of like complicit. Like you didn't like what. Lori also told Mel that Tammy was getting suspicious that Chad was having an affair.
Okay.
So I didn't think that she knew at all.
Okay.
I didn't think that she knew, but like, I think that's something Lori made up. I don't think Tammy had any idea. I think that Lori just made it up, and she said that that was when Tammy allegedly turned dark. So 2 weeks later, kids are gone. Both spouses are gone. Chad and Lori get married in Hawaii.
What?
These are their wedding pictures.
Oh
I think about this
my
photographer. I'm like,
God.
oh my God. If you ever know
Yeah,
somebody
could you imagine?
So there's a-
Lindsay is a wedding photographer. Could you imagine you were hired?
I know.
I
So
feel
there's all
sick to my stomach.
Yeah. There's all these pictures. So she loved Hawaii. Her and Charles and the kids had lived in Hawaii. They live in Kauai. I don't know Hawaii at all. I've never been. But Kauai is like one of the islands, I think. So they had lived
Okay.
there and she just loved it. And so they went back and so they got married. So they get married with
They
the
look
malachite
as
ring.
happy as can be.
Yeah.
In those
And so the
photos.
thing is, like, Chad had started to lose weight. Like, he, in the pictures you'll see when they're in Hawaii, like, he lost weight and looks a lot. It's like, she's like, okay, let me shape you into who I want you to be. So they have the malachite ring and everything. So, on November 18th at 4:30 in the morning, Kay Woodcock, Charles's sister, the grandmother of JJ, she just wakes up and she just gets this feeling. I think there was like divine intervention in this because a lot of things have happened where I really feel like Tylee has helped them find her. Charles has assisted from beyond the veil, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy like them, but like I really feel like because there's like no reason for Kay said that she had been messing with her printer all day. It was really frustrating her. And so she went to bed and like at 4:30 a.m. she just woke up and she was like, something is telling me to check the computer. And at this time, her and her husband Larry have no idea where JJ is. They still obviously think he's alive, but they have no idea where he is. They can't get in touch with anyone. They don't know what's happening. So she goes to check her computer again. And then Charles's Gmail account like dings. Like it comes up because she's on Charles's laptop after he passed. She got his laptop and everything. So his email goes off. So she's like, let me look through the email. So that's when she saw that Lori had bought this malachite ring on Charles's Amazon account.
Ew, you dumb bitch.
But the address was the Rexburg, Idaho address. So she was like, oh shit, they're in
Now
Rexburg.
I know
like
where they are. Yeah.
I have an address. So she contacted a private investigator and she's like searched browsing history of Amazon. She saw searches for a beach wedding dress, bathing suit, men's large white linen top and pants, malachite wedding rings. And the order was placed on October 2nd, weeks before Tammy died.
I mean, that shows premeditation.
Yes, exactly. So on November 24th, Chad gives Alex Cox a patriarchal blessing. So in the blessing, Chad says that Alex is to be a missionary and is going to open the portals of time. He said in his previous creations, Alex was a valiant warrior fighting for truth and righteousness, always seeking to do what's right. And Alex Cox is bawling his eyes out. He's so into it and he's crying. So let's play this. So yeah, this is the recording and I might just like fast forward a little bit, but like you can hear Chad's voice too. He's got the worst voice ever.
So it's the fifth creation again.
This is Chad's voice.
Ew.
Exalted in the fourth creation. When you could have gone on to exaltation with Holly. resurrected being. You
Ew.
accepted the Savior's invitation one more time to come to this.
Okay, we'll stop. I
I
won't have more because
literally, no, dude, like, I literally have chills. Like,
yeah,
you can't see on camera. Like, ew,
I
it's
know.
just too
That's how he talks.
disgusting.
I'm gonna have to play his voice another time for a 911 call, but you can just it's so weird. It's like you can barely understand him. And so during this, Alex is like bawling, like his eyes are like, yes, Lord, like, oh my God, like thinking
Wait,
Chad
how do
is like
you
a
know he's
prophet.
crying?
I think they said like Lori was
Oh, like
recording it
people
or
who were there.
something.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was only Lori there, but I think it might be like in the video. But the video is so long and we literally won't share anymore of
No,
his
I got
dumbass.
fucking goosebumps. And I don't get those types of reactions, but it was like,
So finally, the police start looking for JJ. By the end of November, Kay gives them the Rexburg, Idaho address, and they are like, okay, we need proof of life. This person's, they're convinced that he's missing. So we're like, we need proof of life. We need to see him. So they started the Rexburg, Idaho house after Kay found the address. So they arrive at the house and Chad and Alex are unloading a truck. So they told the police that, like, the police asked them, and apparently Alex looked really scared when they said, hey, we're looking for Lori Vallow. Like, have you seen JJ Vallow? And Alex and Chad just like looked at each other and they like didn't answer for a while. So then they said, oh, he's in Louisiana with Kay Woodcock. And they said, that's impossible because she's the one that called us. So police asked Chad how he knew Lori, and he said, I hardly know her. And they were married by this time. He's like, I hardly know her. And like, we've only met a couple times. So Chad finally gives them Lori's phone number. So they're knocking on the door. Lori finally answers and she's like, hi, like totally like nothing is wrong. And she's like, oh, JJ's with my friend Mel in Arizona and they're watching Frozen 2. Like, yeah, you can call her, blah, blah, blah. So the police call Mel. This is Mel. She doesn't answer. She doesn't know what to do. So she calls Lori. She doesn't know that JJ's missing, but she's just like, hey, why are the police calling me to look for JJ? So Lori says, just take a photo of some random kids and send it to them. And Mel's like, yeah, but where is JJ though? Like, why do you want me to lie? So the next day, the police obtained a search warrant for the home, the very next day. So by the time they get there, everyone's gone. Their clothes are gone. They've left. They found loads of ammunition, a rifle, a handgun, rope and duct tape, several silencers. They went to Alex Cox's apartment and Mel's apartment. They found hazmat looking white suits and a rental agreement for the property. They tried to get a hold of Lori and Chad. Their phones are shut off. So December 1st, Chad and Lori are back on a plane to Hawaii, baby, honeymoon. So Tammy's death.
How are they? Oh, I was gonna say, how are they affording all this? But I guess he got the life insurance, right? From Tammy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she is collecting Social Security for like JJ and Tylee and like all this
Look
stuff.
at
So
how
like
smug she looks. She looks like, yeah, I'm here with my man. I'm going on vacation. I'm like,
yeah.
ew.
So somebody following this case took this picture, like the Nick Vial situation. This is not a picture from the news or anything. Yeah. Because people were following this case when the kids were missing and digging deeper into it. And people were like, oh my God, they're in Hawaii. Because the police still didn't know. They leave Rexburg and they were like, shoot, I don't know where they are. So Tammy's death is then ruled suspicious and her body is exhumed. So the medical examiner determined that it was asphyxiation at the hands of another. So she was probably smothered with a pillow.
So that means that when Chad made the 911 call saying Tammy is dead, he said she was coughing and they were just like, okay, yeah, put her in a casket. Let's do the funeral.
And apparently it's come out in the trial now that there was like pink foam coming out of her mouth. And so, but they did note it as suspicious. But I think when they buried her, like Chad and the children were like, no, we don't want an autopsy. We don't want an autopsy. But I think because EMS saw that this was kind of weird, then they decided to exhume it. I think once the kids became missing, they knew they were married. They were like, they were exhuming her. And so,
I don't mean to get ahead, but is Chad's kid still alive, or is that coming later? Okay. Oh,
no,
so
and
they're still alive.
Yeah, his kids are fine. They're untouched. His friends and family are completely fine and untouched, and his children have stayed by him this whole time.
No way.
They only were in like initial interviews when like the kids were found and they still stuck by him, but like her sister and her mom stuck by her and now they flipped. So I'm sure hopefully the kids have flipped. But I'm sure it's hard losing your mother and then having to believe that your father did this. Like they want to hold on to somebody. So after
I wonder if they were going to be next at some point. You know what I mean? Or maybe no.
His kids, sorry, I should have mentioned his kids are adult.
Oh, okay, okay.
They're adult kids. So I don't know. Yeah, they,
Yeah. Like they didn't end up killing her eldest, who was an adult. So
exactly.
although
Yeah.
they probably would have if they could.
I know, if they could just have their way. So after the news that Tammy's body was being exhumed and they found out, so they called Alex, and Alex was on the phone with them and then hung up, and Sulema was like, "What's wrong?" And he was like, "I think I'm being their fall guy. Like, I think they're gonna blame this on me now that the police are involved." So he drops dead of like a heart attack.
Like
And
a
so
heart attack, like quotations, or
so they exhumed his body and it was found to be natural causes, because we all were convinced. We're like, oh no, they
Oh,
did this. But I think just maybe the guilt
the
got to him because he
stress.
probably was the unaliver of both of them. Like, I think he performed the task because Chad was like, oh, you're blessed to perform this task. So yeah, so Alex is deceased. It's like
Wow.
so many people, so many people are gone. So far, Lori's defense, I feel like, hasn't, like, they've kind of like blamed things on Alex and Chad, but it's like there's so much evidence. There's physical evidence now with like a piece of her hair being on the tape with JJ, all the police interviews, just everything that adds up. Like, I can't wait to hear from the jury members after the verdict and hear what they think. Okay, so by January 2020, this is nationwide news. Kay and Larry Woodcock announced a $20,000 reward for information leading to the children. Chad's brother pleads for him to cooperate with police. The family says that like they've distanced themselves to him because of his radical religious beliefs already. And Facebook and true crime YouTubers are hashtagging where are the kids. I remember even seeing like these cupcakes made by this baker in Kauai that said, where are the kids? Like on the cupcakes, hoping that like Lori and Chad would like come in to get cupcakes. Like so many people were like, what the heck? Lori's friend Mel calls her. She calls Lori and Chad, and she records it. We're gonna play it.
Oh,
This
good
is
for
like
her.
this is one of the craziest phone calls. So she tries to find out where JJ is, and Lori said, when Lori said that he was with Mel when he never was. So we'll play this.
43 p.m.
So Mel is recording this like for the police. She didn't want to get in trouble because Lori told her to lie for the police, and she was like, I'm not gonna get in trouble for this.
Hopefully I will be talking to both of them, Chad and Lori. So here goes the phone call.
Who is that man that they're showing right there?
Hello, sweet.
I'm pretty sure this is the prosecutor.
Oh, okay.
Like Rob Wood. So at first their trials were together, but now they've separated. So I think he's the prosecutor for both of them.
Hi, Chad. Hey, Lori. How are you?
Hey, let me put on speaker.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We're enough with the phone. How are you guys?
We're okay. How are you doing, babe?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I was wondering, where are you guys?
We're just hanging out.
Hanging out? Are you in Idaho?
We're near Idaho.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask you a question.
So this is when they're in Hawaii. So he's like, oh, we're nowhere near Idaho.
It's so funny because like when people, like when two people are going to tell a lie, but they haven't like, told each other what it is yet, because she's like, where are you guys? And then I think one of them says, yeah. And then the other one says, no, we're not in Idaho. And the other one's like, yeah.
That was kind of the gist. And so you can hear their voices and stuff and how like they were kind of just like giggling in the beginning when both of their kids are missing and the public is now looking for their children. So the phone call goes on and Mel starts to like kind of give it to Lori, and she she does it in the Christian love way. And she's like, I want to read you a passage. Like, can I read you a passage of scripture? And Lori's like, sure. And she reads it, and then Lori is like, well, I want to read you something. And they're kind of going at it, and she's like, and what did Joseph Smith do with blah blah blah? Like they're relating this situation to the Book of Moroni and everything, and it's just so we have that thanks to Mel.
I love how that's like the Christian way of shit talking. Or it's just like,
let me read you a passage, honey.
Oh my God.
Darling, bless your heart. And then the southern way of not shit talking, but the southern way of like, if you're pissed at someone, you're like, bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
So this is them in Hawaii. This is by the time the news has found them. I think due to the help of people like just being there and sharing pictures, because a lot of pictures were taken of them. Actually, I think the cops were already following them. I'm probably not giving the cops too much credit because I think at the trial they said that they like one of the cops or the detectives like same plain clothes and stuff and like saw like went to a yogurt shop and they were tracking them like by this time. So maybe it wasn't random people, but the Kauai Police Department give Lori a notice stating that she must produce JJ and Tylee to the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare or the Rexburg Police Department within 5 days. So the countdown is on and everyone's like, okay, she's gonna, if they're alive, she's just gonna hand them over. Like, she's gonna have to. So Nate Eaton of East Idaho News, please don't copyright us, Nate. We love you. He confronted them. He's from like Idaho News, like he's from Idaho, and he flew down there and he confronted them and asked where the children were and everything. So we'll play the video.
Law enforcement officers from eastern Idaho, along with federal agents and the Kauai Police Department, pulled Lori and Chad over. They were driving a black SUV. They pulled into this resort where I am standing. They put Chad into one vehicle, Lori into another. That's when their vehicle was seized and they had no way to get home. We had a chance to ask them so many questions that need answers. Lori, Nate Eaton with East Idaho News. Can you tell me where your kids are? Where are your kids?
No comment.
No comment? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Where are your children? Yeah, why don't you just give us a comment? Just tell us where they are. Chad, where are Lori's kids? What happened to Tammy, Chad? Can you tell us what happened to Tammy? Why have you guys been in Hawaii for so long? Listen, just tell people what's happening. There's people around the country praying for your children, praying for you guys. Why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
That's great. That's great that they're praying for you, praying for your kids. What?
So
that guy's a G.
I know that's Nate.
Would you?
He's
Do you
awesome.
think you'd be able to do that?
Fuck yeah. Oh my
If
God.
you
I would say the
saw-
nastiest things of them though.
If you saw them like
I'd be
that,
like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, he kept his cool.
oh, wow.
So she misses the 5 p.m. deadline, doesn't produce the children. So she's arrested on a $5 million bond. She has a first hearing in Idaho and she smiles with bright red lipstick.
Ew.
So by June, so
Ew.
Chad's not arrested. He's still like free. She's arrested. So in June, police have obtained a search warrant for Chad's property. So they searched the pet cemetery. They searched the fire pit because they've seen that Alex Cox's phone was there.
Right.
There was that shot. There was the burn at the fire pit. So they find the remains of Tylee and JJ. At the same time, they're digging this up and they're finding this. Chad is at home. And he's sitting in his car in his driveway. So, an agent's keeping an eye on him. And he's watching him. And so Chad calls Lori in jail. So here is this phone call. So you really have to listen to me because he's so mumbled. and I can tell
God.
you what he says.
I'm so
afterwards.
scared because I got scared last time, but I'm gonna try. It's for the podcast. I gotta be a big girl. I'm already getting chills. I hate this.
I know, he's the worst. He's such like a Muppet. Like he talks like a Muppet. He looks like a Muppet.
Don't put that on Muppets,
I
okay?
hope they're getting tortured in jail. Yeah, sorry to offend the Muppets.
So they're searching the property.
The house right now?
Yeah. One of them is. So Mark means we'll be talking to you.
Okay. What, are they in the house?
No, they're out in the property.
Are they seizing stuff? Again?
They're searching. There's a search warrant. So
It seems like he's kind of telling her, like, hey, the jig is up.
I know, because he's like, they're searching.
Like, he's
and,
saying
like,
it without saying it. Like,
exactly. Yeah. So then she ends up saying, like, is there anything I can do for you? And he's like, pray. Just pray. She's like, okay,
You
I'll
guys
pray
need
for
more than
you.
prayers.
Yeah. You're going to need more than prayers at this point.
Mhm.
You dumb. Okay, this is the best part. So Chad gets off the phone. As he gets off the phone, he transfers $24,000 to 3 of his children.
Mhm.
And then he takes off in his car at a high rate of speed. So the police chase him down. They're like, oh, he's leaving. Police chase him down and arrest his ass. I have written, arrest his ass. So someone just happened to be driving down the road and they caught it on camera. Like they're literally driving by. They're literally driving by. So we're gonna play that.
It was just weird because he came past and then all of a sudden there's all these cops just, you know, and one of them was kind of going on the outside, kind of trying to surround him. And so they got him to pull over and got him to get out of his car.
Social media is so crazy.
It looks like it's like a Snapchat video too.
I
that she's
know.
taking.
Like I love social media. Like I feel like it's done so much good, but I also kind of hate it at the same time.
So JJ was found in the same red pajamas that he was last seen in.
Mm.
He was wrapped in a trash bag with his hands and feet wrapped in duct tape.
Ugh.
So I didn't mention before, but Chad was a previous graveyard digger. So he dug this grave. He put like planks on top of JJ to like a very like it's
So
like
he
somebody
knew what
knew
he was doing.
Yes.
Wow.
Tylee, for whatever reason, was completely dismembered. And there was her blood on like a pickaxe. Her limbs were burned. Her skull was found like they in a bucket that was burnt. Like
Yeah.
Insane, horrible. What the fuck? I feel like because she was older, she talked back. And I know that there was a video recording of her mom being like, you're a zombie or something, or someone's a zombie. She's like, I'm not a zombie. Like, and I think he was fucking hated Tylee. I think he hated her and he thought he really wanted her gone. And that's why she was gone first. So
Do they
at the
know
end,
how they did it?
so JJ, this came out after I wrote all of this. It was asphyxiation with the plastic bag. So
For
duct tape.
Tylee?
No, JJ
Oh.
duct tape was put over his mouth and then a plastic bag.
Which is
by his
I hate
uncle,
to say
we're
that, but
assuming.
it's such a slow death. I'm like,
I know. And when it's
God.
children, it's like these two, I hope they're dropping the soap. I hope they're
Yeah.
getting beaten. I hope they are regretting their entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know Tylee because she was so dismembered.
Oh,
that
right. Yeah. Yeah.
They can't tell. So they're seeking the death penalty for Chad, life for Lori. I don't know why. Their trials are going to be held separately. Lori's is happening as we speak. Cameras aren't allowed in, but you can listen to the audio. And then like more jail calls have been released. And those are on YouTube if you want to listen to those. Her sister and her sister's one is really, it's just so hard because I try to put myself in her shoes. I subconsciously like always doing that. Always do that. When I watch like murders or mysteries, I like put myself in like the bad person's shoes. I'm like, why am I doing this? I would never do anything like this. But it's like this is her sister who she loved and who she defended. And it's her niece and nephew who were unalived, and she's telling them, she's like, you guys were laughing in Hawaii, like you're laughing and giggling in Hawaii when your kids are buried in the ground, like, and she just screams at her. It's like what we all, I'm like, chef's kiss, girlfriend, like good job, like we all wanted to say this stuff to her, but still it's like how heartbreaking.
Say anything like in return when her sister says all that?
Yeah, she's just quiet and she's just like, you don't understand, I can't talk about it, but you just don't understand, I love you. She's Lori is like that kind of person that's just like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I love you very much. Like that's how she always is responding to everybody. So Mel has gotten on the stand. Sulema has gotten on the stand. Everybody has
what
turned
happened
against them as they
to
should.
her niece, Melanie?
So she lost custody of her kids. We're not sure if she's going to be called to the stand. I'm not sure if she still is
Is she having her own trial maybe for aiding and abetting?
She has not gotten charged with any of that because I don't think there's any way that they're able to prove.
That
I'm sure they
helped, yeah.
Yeah. She probably didn't help. They probably had to talk with her and they're like, look, you believe this light and dark bullshit from Chad and his prophecies and all that crap. So we're going to, Brandon's dark. So he's going to have to be killed. So sorry. And she was probably like, okay. And she got married like really quick. So she's married to this other guy. And so before the kids were found and they were trying to interview all her family members, they interviewed Lori's sister and mother. They were on her side defending her because the kids weren't found. They were just like, we're just going to trust what she says because it's their family. Like they don't want her to be the evil person that she is. Don't want to believe that. And so Melanie was the same thing. Like her niece was just like, that I want to watch those interviews again because she just kind of said just a bunch of bullshit. But now it's like, what do you have to say now?
Melanie had become a follower though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But no one, I don't think anyone is sure that, how she thinks now and how she feels. Yeah, she doesn't have custody of her kids, and like her ex-husband Brandon is probably scared to death that like I would never want her to get custody again. I think she only is allowed supervised visits because it's like your little group probably was trying to murder him and the children as well. Like,
do you think she knew about the plan for Tylee and JJ?
I think she should be charged, and I think she is guilty. I think she knew. I think she knew all of it. And the friend Mel and Sulema, it's just a little iffy. It's like you guys the kids are missing, and she's telling you don't want to know where he is, and you're not thinking that it's something bad. You're just choosing to believe that, oh, they're fine. Like I feel like they got wrapped up into.
Did Mel call the police or no? She just recorded that phone call.
No, she called the police and she started working with them, and then she recorded the phone call.
Try.
Yeah, so that's the thing, and I'm like, I don't believe that they should get charged. There's a lot of people who think they should, but I'm like, you know what? I don't even think they were accessories. I think they just got wrapped into this stuff. And, when you're good friends with somebody, like you don't want to believe that they are capable of something that evil. So maybe you look the other way and you just make excuses. And I'm sure they're very regretful. And their names are out in the public and they have their haters and stuff like that. And maybe that's what they deserve for the little part that they did play of just not, I don't know. I think the only thing they could have done was call the police before this, but we all know that like
they weren't
when you call the police
what was going on,
and you can't call the police before something's happened. The police will come
based
after
on a suspicion. Yeah.
No,
when I said Mel, I was referring to the niece because I was thinking like, did she get charged with anything? Because and abet in this, so
no, she hasn't so far, but she doesn't have custody of her kids, but I believe she should. I don't think the friends should get charged, but I think she should get charged for what it is conspiracy to unalive, because Lori is charged with a conspiracy to unalive. I think just like Charles Manson, he didn't physically do it, but they have recently came out and said that a piece of Lori's hair was in the duct tape that was on JJ. So I don't know, maybe she did. I don't know. And the thing is they probably had some like ritual. They're like, oh, we have to do this because of this. And it's like, what I want to know is if she has come to reality, if she has realized what she's done, realized that she got tricked with Chad. She's just as much guilty too, but I'm sure her defense team is trying to make it seem like, oh, it's all Chad. Chad tricked her. Chad
is that what they're doing?
I think they're trying to get to that. Anytime that they could talk about Chad and his religious experiences and near life and death and all the crazy stuff, like they go for it. I think that would be the best defense. But I just want to know, like, if she, like the Charles Manson, like the women who have like did the Charles Manson like murders and stuff, like, I think there was a point where they like snapped out of it and they were like, oh my God. And I just want to know if she's done that yet. If she has been like, oh my God, I unalived my 2 children for this man.
It doesn't seem like that because like you said, when she's on the phone with her sister, I don't know how long ago those phone calls were, but it sounds like she's still in her own delusional little world. Like,
yeah, but they were found in 2020. So I think it's been 3 years. So I'm not sure. She did, when they were showing the autopsy photos and they're showing them to the jury and to the people in attendance and everything. And she was crying and she asked to step out. And the judge was like, nope, you got to sit here and you need to look at this, which I'm very happy
Yeah,
about.
because that makes me feel like, I mean, I don't know what happened, but based on what you just said, I feel like she told them to do this, but she just didn't get her hands dirty. And like you said, when she was getting confronted, like, this is a result of what you did, what you asked for. And she's like, oh shit, now it's real for me.
Yeah,
You
the
know?
fact that she was crying when they were showing like JJ's autopsy because he was still intact. So they showed pictures of his face and everything. And if anyone's listening to this, please don't ever look up autopsy photos. I did for that one case. I don't know, this one case, and literally it was like a picture of the man's face, deceased. And I was like, I'm scarred. Don't ever. So it's so horrifying. And yeah, and she was crying during that. So I'm like, maybe that makes me feel like she's moving. She hasn't talked to Chad in 3 years. The more they've been separated, I feel
The
like she
less
has to.
influence. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I was thinking to myself, there's no way she would turn on Chad. Because initially, like before
Mhm.
we started this conversation, like I was thinking, there's no way she would turn on Chad. Like she gave up everything for him and's like, that's your man. Like she's
Mhm.
obsessed with him and believes in him and everything. But who knows? But like you
Yeah,
said,
and I
they
would
haven't even talked.
yeah, and I would like to think that her defense team is like, look, this is Chad's
Get
fault,
real,
right?
honey.
Like this is the good defense. We're going to blame it on him because he's the one with the visions. He's the one with the books. He's the one with all of this. And I mean, that's the way it seemed, but she still is at fault. But
And
it's like,
also, they were found on his property, the
mhm.
bodies. So
And
there's
I
a
think
lot,
he
yeah, that
did
they
the
could,
burials. He did the destroying of
yeah. So
dismembering and
yeah,
all of
you're
that.
right. I think if they chose that angle, it could possibly work, but she would have to be willing to go full throttle. Like, we're gonna blame it on him 100.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's like you still did it though. You still, still guilty of conspiracy. So we
Yeah,
hope that
but
she
it'll be
spends the
like a
rest of her.
lesser sentence, I guess.
Yeah. We hope that she spends the rest of her life in prison, no parole,
We
and
don't,
he gets the death penalty, which is just kind of crazy because it's like her kids, but it's like, oh shit. It kind of just hit me looking at him and I was like, oh, he's going to be put to death. Like, wow.
we don't have
Wow.
to
He
include
deserves it.
this if
But
you don't want, if it's too political, but I'm curious because I don't think we've ever talked about this.
my stance on the death penalty.
Yes. If you don't want me to include it, I'll take it out, but
No, I mean, I don't, we can probably include it. The only thing about the death penalty is that, there's the risk of innocent people being put to death. And I think it's better if they weren't and they're just in jail, because if there's that opportunity that they can get out, that if they're proved innocent, and there's so many people that have been proved innocent, there are so many innocent people in jail right now. But I feel like when it's cases like this and it's obvious, then I want you to be put to death and I want you to be afraid of it. I want you to like be freaking terrified, even though I hate that like death row inmates get like more perks. They get like more TV. They like, I've heard that it's better to be like on death row. It's actually, it's a nicer experience in
yeah,
jail.
and they don't I mean, they could be on death row for years, decades even,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that it's like these were just two like normal, they were normal people. They weren't like, it's like you don't normally see like someone on death row. You imagine somebody with tattoos all over their face and blah blah blah. It's like these were just like normal church going people until they started to get radicalized, and that can happen in any sort of religion.
Yeah.
We see people do unalive other people or themselves because of like the radicalization of certain religions. They take the little piece they have and they just like go off with it. And this is a perfect example of that. And people have been unalived that shouldn't have been.
The only time I've ever felt like maybe I will support the death penalty is kind of like a little bit when you said like the only time I've ever felt that way is with mass shooters, because we know it was the shooters.
Exactly.
There's no mystery. Like it was the shooters. And they killed multiple people. But the only reason why I'm like, maybe no on that is because I feel like they kind of want the glory. You know what I mean? It's like I went out in a blaze of
To be a
glory.
martyr.
A martyr, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like the glory of like I was put on death row and I was killed, but I got to do what I wanted. And I'm like, no, like fuck
Yeah.
it, rot in jail,
Yeah, the suffering in jail, and then but
regret
then I
your
think about
life,
like the
you know?
tax money, the money that we pay in taxes
That's
to
true.
house these people to for the rest of their life. It's like if we could just remove
Prisons
because
for
some of them
profit are just not great. I feel like the
Yeah.
prison system is broken anyways.
Oh, yeah.
You need to come
Yeah.
up with a new method. Me and you,
Yeah,
let's start.
because
Let's think. No, I'm kidding.
there
Let's
are
brainstorm.
yeah, because there's so many unbelievable amounts of people who are innocent who, you know, prosecutors have you know, messed with stuff to make it go their way. And like,
Yeah.
there's been like other means of, you know, wanting to convict somebody because, you know, they're like, well, we want to kind of that whole thing of like, you know, well, somebody has to be guilty. Somebody has to go down for this. That happened
yeah.
with to like the Abraham Lincoln assassination because John Wilkes Booth ended up dying and a couple days after. And so, but they ended up hanging the doctor that treated him. The
I
mother
never knew this.
Dr. Mudd, and so he's in Maryland too. I always pass by his house when I visit my cousins.
Wow.
So John Wilkes Booth, he went down like the Potomac and then into like Virginia, and so he stopped and he had like broke his leg when he jumped off the balcony after, you know, shooting Lincoln, and he went and got treated by this doctor who was being a doctor he didn't know what happened or anything. They hung him. They hung the mother of one of the other men he conspired. This guy, one of the guy, he I guess it was involved in like a bunch of like a group of people too who knew what was going to happen. And so one of the guys went to Canada and escaped to Canada, and they were like, well, your mom's going to hang for you. I watched this movie. It was like so horrible. And I always think about that. It was kind of, that's an example of the government being like, our president was assassinated, like going crazy, kind of like 9/11. They're like, no, I don't want to talk about 9/11. But like 9/11, they're like, we need to get everybody. And so we're going to kill innocent civilians because we're just like, somebody has to pay. And it's like, we just,
you know what that makes me think? People will go to extreme measures just to have a sense of closure.
Yes, we were just talking about closure the other day or today. Yeah, no, and they
want
kind
to
of
have closure for the American people. Their president is gone. They want to see someone get in trouble for this. It's more like for the closure of the American people, you know what I mean? But it sucks because the mom didn't do anything. The doctor was being a doctor.
And there's a lot of people in jail right now who went down because for something that they didn't do. And there's like, but
the
in this
police
case,
want to move on. Like they have so many cases that they need to solve. They want to reassure the public, we solved this. We're on to the next.
Yeah. So, but in this case, it's very obvious. So far, Lori's defense, I feel like hasn't, like they've kind of like blamed things on Alex and Chad, but it's like there's so much evidence. There's physical evidence now with like a piece of her hair being on the tape with JJ, you know, all the police interviews, just everything that adds up. Like, I can't wait to hear from the jury members after the verdict and hear what they think. Because
you know how much longer they have?
I think it's only a couple more weeks. You know, they've
could you imagine being on that jury?
I know. Like
you'd be a horrible pick.
Well, I know for any like true crime, like especially something big like this, I'd be like, yeah, I know everything about this. Like they're guilty in my mind. Sorry. But yeah, like I think about the jury members who, I mean, I think they obviously picked them people who didn't know about the case. And I feel like they're just sitting there like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what in the hell is this ridiculousness? Like, even listening to it and listening to the prosecutor and the defense like talk about being light and dark and zombies, I'm like, yeah, this jury is like, these people are nuts, and they definitely unalive their kids. So we will see. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll see what's happening with her, and then Chad's going to start for like, they're taking a really long time. So first they were supposed to be together, and then Lori said that she did not waive her right to a speedy trial. She wanted a speedy trial, and Chad waived his right. And so that's what when they were able to separate them both. So Chad's, I don't think will happen until later this year or next year. They're like really trying. I mean, the death penalty is on the table. I don't know why they don't have it for her.
So she's still pleading innocence, I'm assuming.
Yes, they both pleading not guilty. Yeah. Crazy.
I did like, well, I like what you did with this presentation. I don't like what happened.
Yeah.
But this was a lot to learn. And I did have a good time enjoying, like, learning about it. Again, not because of the tragedy, but just because, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, all of it's interesting, just what people, if you like to study and analyze people, which I feel like the both of us do, it's just so interesting what normal, average, everyday people are believing and are thinking and are doing. And it's really, because these don't look like, when you see the photos of them when they were free people and out in the world, like they just look like normal people. They had they both had, she lived in a nice house, nice houses, like it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you a criminal can be anyone. It's not a stereotype like of a certain race or gender or age. It could be anyone. So
yeah. So thank you for tuning in.
Thank you,
it's a little sad
guys.
episode. All of this is on YouTube. If you want to see visuals and the videos and all of that, let us know what you think.
Yes.
Let us know what you think they deserve, the torture they deserve in jail.
Yeah, what are your stance?
I just love to go ham.
No,
I'm like, my crazy Virgo comes out. I'm like, ooh.
Throw the book at them.
Let's get them. I hope someone comes up with a shank. And because, well, we all know this. We all know this, that child unalivers don't do well in jail, because a lot of people in jail, they miss their kids. They want to be able to be with their kids. And they're like, oh, you want to live your kids? Oh, hell no. So we know that they're not doing well in jail already. So let's just hope the right person finds them and just beat the shit out of them. So anyways,
thank you guys.
Next time, hopefully have a more positive episode.
We'll have a little bit more of a light episode next time.
Yeah, and we'll catch you next time.
All right,
catch you on the flip side.
Guys. Bye.
To watch the video version of this podcast, search The Scandalicious Podcast on YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Scandalicious Podcast.
If you have an episode suggestion, our email is in the show notes.
Thanks for listening.